Hello everybody, Todd Nesloney here. I'm an educator, an author, and a speaker, and I was so excited to ask to be part of this presentation for all of you and share with you my children's book, Spruce and Lucy, a book that I'm so proud about. But before I share with you the book, I want to just answer a few questions that you may or may not have. And so, when I think about my own experience in writing this book, number one, is that, this book I wrote 15 years ago, and it just came out in March of 2020. So if I wrote it 15 years ago, why did I kind of sit on it and not really choose to share it out? And I tell people often that I really struggled with, is the story good enough? Is it one that I can share out there, that I can feel comfortable in front of others? And for so long, I felt like my voice didn't matter, and like it was a story that wasn't good enough. It didn't measure up, and I hid it away. And then I remember my wife finding it a couple of years ago in a drawer that I had thrown it into, and she pulled it out and she said, "Oh my gosh, what is this?" And I said, "Oh, it's a children's book I wrote. Like, it's not very good." I threw it in there, and she's like, "No, this is really good. Like, I really like this. You should share it with some of your friends so you know that it's good." So I went and I shared it with a friend or two, and they were like, "Okay, you have to go and get this out there and publish it." And so I decided, you know what? My father-in-law at the time was running a printing company, so I got some he printed out, and I self-published it, and I sold maybe 100 copies, and I was like, I still am not comfortable with my voice. And so it took me a while until about a year ago I realized, you know what? I am proud of the work that I've done. I'm proud of this story. I need to get over my own fears and share it out there. So instead of me doing the illustrations, I found an illustrator off of a website called Fiverr, and I found an illustrator out of Indonesia, connected with him. He illustrated the whole book for me, and then I decided to self-publish through Amazon. And so I've got my book up there on Amazon. I'm a published children's book author, and I couldn't be more proud of this story now. But it wasn't something that I ran into really easily. And this story too, this had like 15 to 30 different iterations. I had to really work. I did the original illustrations, but I'm not as nice of an illustrator as I would like to be, which is why I hired somebody to do it when I released it. But when I think about, kids and this story being out there, I wanted this story to be out there because I wanted it to be a reminder that every one of us has worth and has value. And I'll read the story to y'all in just a minute so you can kind of hear how that's built in there. But I wanted to have something that had my name on it, that had that kind of messaging of no matter who you are, where you are, you bring worth and value to the table. And it was a lesson I had to learn myself before I could get it out there and share with others. When I think about things that inspire me or people who inspire me, that's why I connect on social media. I find other educators and kids all the time who inspire me to be better. In fact, I just finished a brand new book, not a children's book, but a book for teachers and adults called When Kids Lead, and all about growing student leaders. And through that book, I got to meet so many neat kids who were doing incredible things that I should have been doing at 10, 12, 15, 8 years old. And so that really inspires me to find others to continue to learn from. When I think about, challenges I've overcome or advice I would give for you guys reaching your goals, I think the best thing you can do is surround yourself with people who are not going to let you forget who you are. And that doesn't mean you surround yourself with people who are always patting you on the back and telling you you're doing a great job. Like, you need people in your life who are going to say, "Oh, you need to pick up the slack here," or "You could have done that better," or "I'm going to hold you accountable." Those are the people who truly make us better when we get involved with them in that way. And so as far as never giving up, you're going to face lots of failures. You're going to have lots of people tell you that you're not doing it the way they want it or it's not good enough. And you've got to just know who you are inside and hold tight to that and not let the opinions of others allow yourself to define who you are. As far as working on new projects, I'll share those in a minute. But first, I want to share Spruce and Lucy with you guys. So I'm going to read it to y'all. So Spruce and Lucy, written by me and illustrated by a gentleman who goes by the name Okatoon. One day, a small tree sprouted from the ground, and this tree's name was Spruce. Spruce was a very pleasant tree. He was always kind to all the other animals and trees in the forest. But there was something different about Spruce, though. No matter how hard he tried, he just couldn't grow big and tall like all the other trees. One day, Spruce was talking to his fellow trees and one of them said, "Spruce, are you sick? You've been growing for years, yet you're still smaller than all the other trees. If you're always going to be such a small tree, what are you going to be good for?" Spruce had never thought of that before. He'd always been really happy with his size. But now that Mr. Oak brought up the fact that Spruce was so much smaller than the other trees, Spruce began to wonder what he really was good for. Look at Mr. Oak. He reaches high into the sky and gives shade to so many things. I'm too small to ever do that, thought Spruce. And look at Miss Apple. She grows beautiful fruit on her limbs that helps feed many animals. I don't grow any kind of food. And what about Mr. and Mrs. Evergreen? They have amazing full leaves and many different kinds of birds that want to live in them. No animal can live on the tiny leaves I've sprouted. Spruce became more and more upset, thinking he had nothing great to offer anyone in the forest, and he slowly began to wilt. One day, an ant named Lucy was walking through the forest. She was very scared because she had lost her colony and she was all alone. And everywhere she looked, she saw huge trees, gigantic fruit, and enormous animals. Lucy was terrified that she would never find anyone her size again. Lucy found a piece of shade and began to cry, and Spruce heard the sobbing. He'd been so caught up in his own sadness, he hadn't even noticed the helpless ant. Until now. Spruce looked down and called out, "What's the matter? Why are you crying?" Lucy looked up. A tree had never spoken to her before because she was so little. But this tree was small too. Lucy said, "I've lost my colony and I'm all alone, and there's so many large things in the forest that I'm too afraid to go on." "Don't cry," said Spruce. "My name is Spruce, and I know all about being little. All of my family is so much bigger than me, and I often feel all alone too. We should become friends." And Spruce and Lucy became like family. Lucy never left Spruce's side, and they were always there to encourage one another. Lucy told all about her life in the colony, and Spruce told all about his life as a tiny tree. One day, Spruce was feeling upset about his size again, and Lucy noticed something was wrong. "What's the matter, Spruce?" asked Lucy. "I just feel like I have nothing great to offer anyone," said Spruce. "Every other tree has a great job, except for me." "Well, that's not true," said Lucy. "You have a very important job. You saved me. When I was lost in the forest and all alone, you were the only one who tried to comfort me. And even though you only have a few leaves, and even though they're small, those are still leaves who provide me with just enough shade every day. Small things like me would feel completely overwhelmed without small trees like you." Spruce had never thought of it like that before. He did have an important job. Spruce had never imagined that being a small tree would ever benefit anyone. But he was wrong. Being small was just as important as being a big and tall tree. That made Spruce feel much better, and from that day on, he never again felt sad about being a small tree. He knew that he had an important job, and he was just grateful to be alive and to have found a friend like Lucy. Lucy and Spruce lived in the forest for many more years, helping out and being kind to small things just like them. For being small doesn't mean you can't do great things. So like I told you earlier, when I wrote this book, I really wanted it to be a reminder that it doesn't matter who you are or what you do or how big or tall or short or any of that you are, you can do great things. And sometimes it just takes somebody like Lucy coming into our lives to remind us of exactly who we are. So I hope you are encouraged to get out there, write your own story, practice, do lots of edits, share it with lots of people, find your voice, surround yourself with positive people who are going to help you remind yourself who you are. And I hope you all guys have a great rest of your week.